Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Now, I know many of you probably will remember this. Everybody think of Jalen Rose. They think of the 81 points, and it's like all 81 was scored on Jalen Rose, and they always bring it up. Oh, remember when Kobe scored 81 on Jalen? So what's funny about that is a lot of people don't know that was I think the only game Kobe Bryant's grandmother ever seen him play. That's one. Two, it was a very special night because Jalen had to learn to get over it so much. It was bothering him that people keep that narrative going, even though he was not guarding Kobe Bryant the entire game. Now, people know that Kobe Bryant holds a grudge. It could be over, and Kobe will still be going on years later, and it goes all the way back to the NBA Finals, the Lakers versus the Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals, and Kobe goes up for a shot, and Jalen Rose deliberately puts his foot out in this. Well, now that's a technical foul, but back then the player that used to do it a lot and make it look very accidental was Bruce Bowen, and a lot of players twisted their ankle due to this and would miss games. And Kobe comes down, twists his ankle, and sprained it really bad to the point where he should have probably not played again. Like, it should have been over. But that wasn't the case. So everyone panics and they start to think of solutions. They start to think of, where are we going? Luckily, Kobe's foot recovered enough to give the Lakers the business. I mean, the Pacers the business. They win a championship. Bygones are bygones, right? That wasn't the case. Every time Kobe Bryant saw Jalen Rose on a basketball court, he tried to give him the business. Every time. There was no nights off for Jalen Rose forever. For the rest of Jalen Rose's career, when Kobe Bryant saw him on the court and he tried to guard Kobe Bryant tried to annihilate him. Now, here's the thing. Michael Jordan comes back and plays for the Wizards. Jalen Rose is on another team and decides, he is livid, and decides to go after Michael Jordan. Jordan tries to tell him, hey, it's over. Jalen loses his mind, goes after MJ, and they get into a little wrestling thing with MJ. So everybody comes and grabs Jalen Rose. He just lost it. Now, Jalen is a person that has fought for everything to get to where he is. And he ain't the type to let anybody punk him. So now they get to a situation where that happens. Kobe Bryant, I think it was after Jordan retired, and he calls MJ. He got his number, everything. Called up MJ and said, I'm going to get Jalen Rose back for you. Michael Jordan didn't even remember what the hell he's talking about. Jordan is not even thinking about that Jalen Rose scrum. Kobe Bryant tells Michael Jordan, I'm going to get Jalen Rose back. Yeah, he Bruce Bowen me. And he's thinking it was something recent. It was something back in the first NBA Finals, and he's holding on to it like he never played Jalen Rose since. It was hilarious. Michael thought he was crazy. Once again, Kobe took this personally. But the fact is, Jalen Rose, when he played against Kobe, he was just really a guy playing a role on the Raptors. He wasn't the main defender. And that's what a lot of players just don't get. You know, it's a defensive assignment and switches, so you get put on other players. But it doesn't matter to the public. Kobe scored 81 on Jalen Rose. But once Jalen retired, he learned how to accept it, a little bit better. A little. Now people still they still razz him a bit. But it is what it is on that. But he was enough to do the commercial. No, this is not a player comparison, No one's gonna do that. That's kind of like retarded. Well, when you look at all of the intangibles, you might say, well, what type of person did this, or this type of person ever did that? When they played each other, when they seen each other, like how far did it go? Well, those things could escalate. Because player for player, we all know what Kobe Bryant was. He's what hard work, determination, grit, and will. Looking at Kobe as his rookie and looking at him in 2005, and you're like, oh my God. He had all this athletic ability, one-on-one game, ISO basketball. Could take you off the dribble, could pull up for jump shots. Now, as Kobe each year excelled, got physically stronger, he got more polished in his footwork, everything that you saw, the techniques he was using to get his shots off was like incredible. Hours and hours put in the gym before the game just to get his body to the point of where he's ready to go. Mental laser focus. You saw it on the court. You saw what it looked like. But you didn't see him doing all those knockout drills. Knockout drills is where you play till you absolutely collapse. So it's play to the point of exhaustion to where you pass out. That's what Kobe was doing. I mean, it would blow your mind the type of things that he was doing out there on the court. Well, I'm like this. If you believe in basketball and you believe in statistics and all of these different scenarios, one of the main things that you can rest your head on is that Kobe Bryant will definitely go after a player. He averaged about 30 points a game on Jalen Rose. I'm serious. That's what they consider. Anytime he played a team, Jalen Rose was on. He hit about 30. Jalen retired like probably the next year. I'm guessing. I don't know how long Jalen played in the league, but it couldn't have been that long. Jalen's career was marred with injuries. Um, it's a whole lot of stuff that went on with Jalen, but it was a different situation with him because he went with the Bulls, then he ended up with Toronto. I think that was probably it. After the Toronto game, I don't think they played again. If I'm thinking, I can't really find a game that they've played each other. I don't recall them. I think that was like the last time they played. Is when he put up the 81. Um, I don't remember hardly too much anything. I remember the Lakers played during Kobe's like breakout year, that 2004, 2005 year, and he put up like 48, almost 50 on Jalen on Toronto. That was a vicious game. Um, 2003 Kobe was just as vicious. He was coming into his own, but his game was being shackled. Like his game was being like put in the Phil Jackson system. But it was surprising that once Kobe retired, it was all over. Like it was basketball was all out of his system. there was never a chance of him coming back to play again. He didn't even want that rumor to be floating around. And they didn't want, the crowd to be rooting because LeBron was sucking it up. That Kobe might come back to play with LeBron. They didn't even want that rumor out there. So Vanessa came and killed all of it. Shut it down. It's not coming back. Like, look, don't even try to get him hyped up to try to make a run to come back. He's already done that 20 years in. Now, I had high hopes for a lot of the talented, you know, gifted artists or people around the way. I had high hopes for them. But now, not so much. Oh no. And Michael Jordan didn't care. Michael Jordan didn't even remember that incident no more. This is the Wizards, Mike. But the fact that Kobe remembered it, like, I'm gonna get him back for you. I believe he was because I think he was with Denver at first. Jalen Rose came in the league. He's with the Nuggets, I believe. 'Cause I was a huge Fab Five fan. And I remember he went to Denver. So he was a pacer. I think he was an Indiana Pacer until like when they played in the finals. That was a key moment because that was an essential step towards another direction. It was saying, hey, Reggie needed help. But when Jalen Rose finally came out, when people noticed him, was the Chicago Bulls series. And he got suspended for half of his foot stepping onto the basketball court in Indiana. And it ended up costing the Indiana Pacers a game that they had took the momentum away from the Chicago Bulls. And they were torturing Tony Kukoc. It was to the point where when they started Game 7, I've never seen a team on the road so mentally focused. They were like perfect. Dale Davis was torturing them in that first half. They kept snatching him out, going back to Dennis Rodman, snatching Tony Kukoc out, and going offense to defense. They were so much in panic mode. And the Indiana Pacers was beating them with execution, taking advantage of defensive mismatches. And they were hitting their threes. Jalen Rose was a guy who could get his own shot. He didn't need a pick. He could cross and get to the next level. And he was the only guard they had that really had that capability on the team. So, and he was coming off the bench, and he had did great against. I mean, he was phenomenal against. Who was that they played? Because he was just outstanding in that game. I think it was game two or game three. And in game seven, he came back for game six and they won. But in game seven, he was, starting to come off. He hit two shots in a row and he was taken out of the game. And I don't think he never got back in. And I think it's just recently he admitted. Larry Bird came on the bus and spoke to him and said, I shouldn't have taken you out of the game. He was like, I hit two shots in a row. They call a timeout, and then he takes me out of the game. He's like, he takes me out of the game. Well, yeah, if you're looking at statistics and you're looking at what someone is bringing to the table as far as a player, Jalen Rose had the capabilities. He was a left-handed player who had a cross, who can get to his spots, and he has size. And he was a great guy for assists and dropping dimes. But NBA is all about narratives. And I remember when he came to Chicago to play, and we went to go see the game, and we saw them wearing the most baggiest jerseys I've ever seen in my life. But they had Scottie Pippen, we saw Jalen Rose play. And Jalen was out there trying to win. Like he was playing for the Bulls and he's trying to win. And I'm looking at Scottie Pippen just dog it. Like he's hardly playing. He's playing to the crowd. But he is like I'm just out here running the five. I don't care about wins. I don't care what we do as a team. It was all on his face. So when Jalen Rose told the story about Scottie and was like, I remember Scottie was in the sauna, right? And we was like, hey, man, we got a good team this year, man. All right, we got you now. We could make a run. And he was like, man, I ain't doing it for this team. Yeah, this team owed me for all the years I was here, man. And he's like, wow, Scottie finna dog it. And he was just shocked. He's like, man, I ain't doing it for this team. They owe me. So that's the only reason I'm here is they cutting that check because they owe me. So he decided to just dog it for the entire rest of the season. And they actually legitimately had a good team and could have made a run had Scottie cared just a little bit. No. Many people jump to conclusions. They jump out of their mind. Like they just, no, and just start making things up. Because the NBA is created by narratives. Like it runs off of it. Like it feeds the adrenaline. It needs that narrative. So we need that narrative. Well, when you start seeing things flow in a different, like the energy flow. Like all of a sudden, Allen Iverson, who went from being the biggest superstar in the NBA in 2001, and he wasn't even winning the championship. He was the most talked about player in the league. So when Mike retired in 98, the league was in a very different space. They were great. They were prepared for it. You had guys that came in the league like Chris Webber and all these guys who was in the league who had evolved to the point where these guys are the elite players now. And they're the veterans. Kevin Garnett, all these people who were around when was little when Mike came in the league. They're now the essential focal pieces of franchises. So the game had already gotten to a point to where this is where, we're good now. We don't need Michael Jordan to come back to the game. So when Mike came back the second time, the NBA wasn't happy because they don't want everybody back stuck on the Michael Jordan train and we can't move forward. That's why this whole LeBron thing, if David Stern was still in there, this thing would have been shut down by now. Because it's not moving the game forward. I don't know. Jalen Rose was an essential piece at that time, but they gave the narrative that he was a bad locker room guy. I remember him being on the Phoenix Suns, but I don't remember him ever playing. But people was like, "Oh, Jalen's a bad locker room guy. Like he gets into it with coaches. He's got a bad attitude." It's just narratives that they create and feed to the press. And it's just like anything. If it goes on your resume, people look at that, the narrative, instead of actually meeting with you. Yeah, yeah. It's unbelievable how at this point in 2022, we're still in the same boat. No one blames the organizations more than they blame the players. Why? Because most of the people don't know the guys in the organization. They only know the players. So those are the people they see. And then you have someone on television telling you about the narratives or you're reading it in a newspaper. That becomes the reality. That becomes who that player is. It becomes what they're about. Now, no. I don't have a problem or a complex with anything that I'm saying with like leaning one side or another. Jalen's defense on Kobe was decent, but Jalen was never at a point where he was the next Kobe Bryant. He played. He's more of a system player than a one-on-one ISO player. He could facilitate the ball. He can call the plays, defend, get on defense. But his job was mostly taking advantage of the team's mismatches, knowing how to get to his spot, to get his shot off, and get into a rhythm. He was a scoring point guard who would have excelled in this era of basketball because he could play a slowed down game and find his holes in the spots when he was at his peak as a player. But when that happened, he was never given the position to really shine because they wanted him to just play a role. Well, that was it. Reggie actually played longer than he should have. They didn't, it was like, okay, you're going to be the guy soon because Reggie's going to be retiring. The next thing you know, the Pacers re-signed Reggie to another contract. And boom, just like that, you're out the game. So it's a lot of players whose talent you never got a chance to see, like really hit its full potential because of they wanted them to play a role and they what they call put shackles on your game. They submerge what you really can do to fit a system. Everybody can't be the star of the team. And there's a lot of instances where other players were really better than the so-called superstar on the team. But it wasn't in the cards for them to be that guy. So anyway, love, peace, and hair crease. I am about to bounce and watch some more of these games. Halftime should be over. But it's cool to sit back and chat about old basketball history. But I did think it was funny how Kobe told Mike, I'm going to get Jalen Rose for you. Jordan was laughing, forgotten all about it. Oh, man. But anyway, I'm out. Um, is the banner down there? I can't really see it. But anyway, donate to the Cash App, which is Carceno, Karceno. And who left a question? Oh, I got one other Cash App question. Patrick Mahomes is the future, and what do I think about Jalen Hurts? Oh, okay. I think you're trying to talk about mobile quarterbacks. I mean, you got to forgive Cash App. It was never meant for long questions or drawn out thoughts. But I think I get what you're trying to say. And as I'm looking at it right now, the way you got it like laid up and drawn out, it's kind of simple. The way you made it like laid flat out on the table, like I'm gonna simplify it. Mobile quarterbacks in today's game is like where the game is now. The pocket passer, yeah, you can take advantage of it, but most of these receivers are not traditional wide receivers. And you're starting to see that now. You got most of these hip hop era receivers where in college they use their speed to get open and they'll be open by like 5, 6 yards. So it's hard to find someone who could actually play wide receiver and know routes and know how to do sets, drops, and everything. Like the Joe Montana days, those guys are gone. Taylor and all those guys, it was like a what they call that? It's like precision. Okay, forgive me. I'm going on like 18 hours right now, so it's like counting your steps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, ball got to come out. So yes, mobile quarterbacks are the future. It's always been. The NFL has been trying to submerge that down to get their pocket passes in there, but you're seeing more white quarterbacks be versatile like that because those guys are in college playing the same way. Everybody's running RPOs. They don't even do traditional handoffs anymore. There is no fullback block through the power I. It's no more of that football. And I think it's hurt the game more than anything. Cost a lot of teams victories, and sad. But anyway, I'm out.